Hi everybody and welcome to Mike's Hidden Histories. I'm here in West Kerry on the Dingle Peninsula in the southwest of Ireland to tell you about this island behind me. And this is the Great Blasket Island, one of the islands here in the a group of islands off the southwest coast of Ireland. And it's different than all other islands off the coast of Ireland because of the number of books that were written here by islanders in the early part of the 20th century. Now, it's now deserted, but at one time there were in 1916 there was 176 people living in this island, with 30 houses occupied, and then the congested district boards built a number of other houses also. So it was a thriving community that attracted a number of scholars from all over the world because of the uniqueness of the people. These people on this island, the Blasket Islanders, talked about coming into Ireland or going into Ireland. Irish speaking, very little English understood on this island at all by very few people. It was a thriving community. Not only had it one school at one stage, but it actually had a second school for a short period of time. There was a Roman Catholic school, and then there was a Church of Ireland school. Now, in the early part of the 20th century, a number of distinguished visitors visited the island to live with the people, to understand their ways and listen to their great oral tradition that was handed down from generation to generation. The stories they had carried from one to another over the decades and the centuries. And the first of those in 1905 was John Millington Synge, and then followed by a Norwegian anthropologist and scholar named Karl Marstrander. And then in 1910, Robin Flower, known as the Blothin, came here also. And they lived with the king of the island. Yes, this community had its own king, one of them, Pádraig O'Cahan, and he was, I suppose, ran the guest house. He also had a very important function, was once a week he came into the mainland, gathered the mail and brought it out to the island itself. And this is what sustained the community here, because in many of those envelopes were letters, was money from America, from the relations or children of the people that lived in this island who had by circumstances to emigrate to the United States mainly. Now, a number of other distinguished scholars came also, and they were responsible for instigating the number of the books on the island. There was more than a dozen books, but some of the most famous ones was this one here, 20 Years Agrown, Feheblinic Foss in Irish, by Maurice O'Sullivan. And it was George Thompson who was instigated that book and helped Maurice O'Sullivan write the book. Likewise, Tomás O'Crehen, The Islander, another book, a famous book from the island. And thirdly, another book here was, of course, one of Peg Sayre's book. She wrote her own life story, Peg, and this is an old woman's reflections. Now, these are English versions of the book. They were all written originally in Irish language. Now, unusually, the island had its own poets. Micheál O'Sullivan, Sean O'Dún Slehe, Dunleavy, and famous for their music. They played the fiddle, the violin, many Irish tunes, and created many Irish tunes. So the O'Daligs, the O'Cahans, and the O'Sullivans. Now, the community was a rich cultural community, a diverse community, and that's what makes this island so different than all the other islands off the coast of Ireland. Now, the island is uninhabited for the most part of the year. In 1953, the last of the community left the island. There were mainly old people. In 1950, the Sunday Times on its magazine cover had a heading called "The Loneliest Boy in the World." There was just one child on the island at that stage. So it was a dying community because of its remoteness and being cut off from the mainland for much of the winter. Now only 2.5 miles to the mainland, but this is the wild Atlantic, and Atlantic storms prevailed here for much of the winter. As far as you can see, the next place is Canada. So if you head off in that direction, you'll arrive eventually in Canada. Some of the other islands, this island here, Inishtushkert, it's called the Dead Man, and you can see that it's the shape of a dead man. We have Inish Nubro, Inish Ficalan, you can see, and the Tirok is out here. You see a pointed piece of it coming up over the island. That's the furthest out Blasket Islands. And there's a small flat island here called Begganish. And they're the main islands in the Blasket Island group. And the word Blasket comes, reckoned from a Norse word from the Vikings that discovered this place as a wild and dangerous place. That's what it was, but it was also the source of a great literary source of a range of books written throughout the 20th century, which record forever the community that lived in this island. And just to quote Tomás O'Crihan, he said, "One day there'll be none left in the Blasket of all I have mentioned in this book, and none to remember them." And one of the books talks about Niveg ed lehed au narish, there'll never be the likes of us again. And that's the story, very briefly, of a thriving community that once lived in the village here in the Blaskets, and you'll see those in the pictures that I've put up as part of this video. That's all from Mike's Hidden Histories. More next time.